Welcome back, guys.
We are in Phoenix, Arizona for
Game on Expo.
And we got sidetracked because some breaking news with the
Nintendo Switch 2.
And what's going on with the Nintendo Switch 2, Austin?
Delays for pre-orders due to Trump tariffs.
Close enough. Nintendo has announced that they will be delaying Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders due to tariffs coming from U.S. President Donald Trump. So I guess all those previous reports that the price hike was up due to tariffs from Trump are being debunked now, because the price that was set by Nintendo for the $450 base model and $500 with Mario Kart are going to be making a gigantic leap if Nintendo finds that they need to raise the price in order to make a profit. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. And if you thought the Nintendo Switch 2 was expensive before, get your wallet ready for a beating. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out SmashJT.com for the full article breaking down how Nintendo has officially delayed the US pre-orders for their highly anticipated Nintendo Switch 2 console, coming out of the House of Mario citing some pretty serious concerns over the newly announced tariffs from President Donald Trump. And if you thought this was expensive before, oh boy, just you wait. The company has confirmed to CNBC that pre-orders initially set to go live on April 9th, 2025, are now going to be postponed indefinitely as Nintendo evaluates the economic impact of the new policy. In a statement given to them, Nintendo had stated, pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2 in the US will not start April 9th, 2025 in order to assess the potential impact of tariffs and evolving market conditions. Nintendo will update timing at a later date, and the launch date of June 5th, 2025 is unchanged. While the course of the mainstream press scrambles to frame this as another reason to go after Donald Trump, this latest development here ironically actually disproves the wave of earlier media narratives going after Donald Trump, reporting the statements circulating that the Switch 2's $450 and up to $500 price tag from the original $300 Switch 1 was going to be a direct result of Trump's influence or potential tariffs, even though it was obvious that tariffs had nothing to do with the price of the Switch 2 initially, because console prices are typically set months in advance, and these Trump tariffs were happening fairly recently. That didn't stop many outlets from running with the story, and those reports were entirely speculative at best and misleading at worst. And now we have the truth coming out where, yeah, the tariffs are going to actually be affecting this. And it's going to affect it so much that they have to delay the pre-orders to reevaluate how much they're actually going to be charging for a Nintendo Switch 2 in the United States specifically. Now that we all have the actual statement from Nintendo, we know that the pre-orders plan to proceed before Trump's announcement. In fact, Nintendo only delayed them after the tariffs were unveiled, clearly indicating that the price was already set and unaffected by any of prior policies from President Trump. So, in other words, the console's $450 price point was not initially being driven by Trump's tariffs, as these critics had previously claimed. Which, honestly, taking a step back, is another very good reminder to everyone of just how quickly the media ecosystem at large, even those pro-journos out there, will jump at any opportunity to pin economic or market events on Donald Trump conclusions without any kind of tangible evidence. But when the facts come out, like in this case, their narrative always falls apart. But don't worry, I'm sure they'll say, well, it's still happening. It's Donald Trump, and he's bad because Trump bad, and tariffs are making this go up because Trump bad. That's the all too familiar narrative that we've all seen before. As far as the community sentiment is concerned, scrolling through the replies on Grum's tweet saying the Switch 2 pre-orders delay due to tariff uncertainty, the overwhelming community sentiment seems to be that people are not buying this excuse from Nintendo, and overwhelmingly, it feels like everyone thinks that Nintendo is using Trump's tariffs angle as an excuse to try to squeeze even more money out of people. But at the same time, you gotta start to wonder what the breaking point is for prices here, because holy crap, it is getting absolutely out of control, insane. Not that that's going to stop people from buying it, at least initially. I do see this thing selling out no matter what the price is. initially. But long term, you gotta wonder if the price is gonna be too much for most people to pay. That's not to say that the tariff issue isn't a serious one, though. It absolutely is. Most electronics in the modern era, including the Switch 2, are manufactured in Asia. And according to Reuters, Nintendo has previously manufactured its hardware in China and Vietnam. And now these two countries have been hit with some of the steepest tariff hikes. 54% for China and 46% for Vietnam. Though Nintendo hasn't disclosed the current location for manufacturing the Switch 2 as of yet, the company's delay in pre-orders shows that it's taking these developments right now pretty seriously. And honestly, this is an unprecedented move in the game industry. I honestly can't recall this ever happening on such a grand scale before. IPC is the major trade group for electronics manufacturers, and they themselves have estimated that these tariffs could force console prices up by as much as 50%, which would mean a $500 console would then cost $750 USD. And while the initial $450 price tag wasn't due to Trump's tariffs, future pricing adjustments absolutely could be, depending on how Nintendo decides to respond. And this can't be a good sign, because if Nintendo is taking their pre-orders off the market and saying, we're going to kick this can down the road, I would argue it's highly likely that they come back with a higher price point. And honestly, $600 wouldn't be out of the realm of speculation at this point. And if you thought $500 was a lot, oh boy, looks like you're going to be getting even less for the value of your dollar. Nintendo fans can breathe a little easier knowing that the console's launch date of June 5th, 2025 does remain unchanged, and you may need to start saving twice as much to get to buying one. But the Switch 2 features a larger screen, faster internals, and a new custom NVIDIA chip. It functions as both a handheld and home console, just like the original Switch does, and it will debut alongside a brand new Mario Kart title that people are already up in arms about right now, costing upwards of $80 USD for a physical edition, not including sales tax. We're talking nearly $90, if not more, for a single game, for a console that could be costing upwards of $600 or $700 right now, if not more than that. And that also doesn't include sales tax. So while the tariffs could be raising the price from, we'll say, $500 to $750 USD potentially, that means the 9% sales tax for me in California goes up exponentially for a costing system of $750 rounding up. That's going to be almost $800 for this console just to purchase a console. This reminds me like the Neo Geo days of game consoles, and almost like Nintendo is going to be the most highest priced console on the market when you compare it to the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox. And more importantly, the Steam Deck, which is the direct competitor. And you gotta wonder, when you survey the field of consoles that are available for people, at what point do people start looking elsewhere from Nintendo? This launch is turning into one of the most expensive shit shows in the console launch history that we've ever seen, this side of the Neo Geo. And when Nintendo had their Treehouse event the other day talking about the games and trying to share them with everyone, the stream of commenters chatting with Nintendo in the live stream were saying, lower the prices of games over and over and over. I've never seen this kind of backlash from Nintendo fanboys themselves. The fanboys of Nintendo are now rising up, saying that this is getting to be too ridiculous. And if that's starting to happen, you got to take a step back from all of this and wonder, is Nintendo pricing themselves out of the game industry right now because not that they need it, but because they're being too greedy? And this in itself could be the straw that finally breaks the camel's back when it comes to too much for too little. But time will tell, and honestly, I know it's easy to talk a big game when it comes to Nintendo and, oh, it's too much money, I'm not going to pay that. But I know I can say I'm not going to buy it, but when it actually comes out, it's going to be really hard to say no to it. Short of if it does start getting into that $750 price range and the games are being costing upwards of $100 each, we're going to start talking about nearly $1,000 just to leave the store with a console and a game, not an additional controller, no additional accessories, just a console and a game over $1,000 after taxes. It is actually a legitimate concern, a very realistic one. And these tariffs are starting to actually impact gamers right now. And once you impact the gamers, that's when people start rising up saying, wait a second, what's actually going on out there socio-politically? Because yes, gamers aren't political, but when you inject politics to them, be it via DEI or some sort of tariff, people are going to start asking some questions and look up from their console screen and say, hold on, I never approved this. I'm not okay with this. What's going on here? But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Again, check out smashjt.com for the full article. I will link this in the description below. If you guys appreciate what I'm doing here, hit that join button. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, you stay smashing.
Smash.